All right, fifth graders, we're on the third phase of our pop art portraits. Today, what you're going to do is you are going to write your word to describe yourself. You're going to trace the word, paint it from the back, and paint your background paper. Then you will have three components. You will have your pop art portrait, you'll have your word, in your painted background. Next week we will simply assemble all of it together. So the first step, if you have, is to double check and make sure that you have painted all of the key elements on the face that we talked about. So hair, eyebrows, eyes, lips, teeth, shirt. Basically the only area that remains untouched or unpainted is any area of the skin. So after you've done that, set that off to the side. Brainstorm a word that describes yourself, an adjective, positive, school appropriate, and write it. Block letter, bubble letter. If you want to have them touch, it will be easier to cut it out. Otherwise, you may just have to do like a bubble cut around it and glue that to the top. Writing the word, brainstorm your word, write it, come up and get the clear film. If you need to tape it down a little bit, you can. I don't think I need to. I'm just going to go ahead and trace over the word. I'm going to trace quickly just to give you an idea of how that's going to happen. You can see that I have my dot on my eye touching the bottom part of the eye. The reason for that is I don't want to lose that, so that's going to be touching so that it's connected. When I cut it out, it'll just make it much easier. So be thinking of those things. Okay, so now I've traced my word. Going to remove the word. I need to add paint. Remember, you need to stick with your color pattern, so warm or cool colors or pop art, whatever you're working with. So I have greens and purples here. I have not used blue, which is a cool color, because I plan to use blue for my background paper, so I should not be using blue for my word, because if I use it for my word and then my background paper, it's going to blend and it won't stand out. So I've got a lot of purple going on here, so I think I'm going to use green to pull the green up there. So when you're painting your word, remember that we want the front of our portrait to be a smooth finish. So all of the painting happens from the back, which will be glued down. So I'm going to flip my word and paint from the back. So when I go about painting my word, so I'm picking up my green, I'm just going to paint it solid. We've talked about the ways to paint. Remember, you go to the edge, use a smaller brush, obviously, for the words. Okay, I'm just going to do this real quick so you get an idea. So you paint from the back. So when you flip it over, if you go a little bit over the edge, you can simply remove that a little bit. So when you paint it from the front, it shows. Okay, so after you've painted your word, it's going to be a good idea, because we're not going to cut these out and assemble them. Go ahead and write your name with Sharpie somewhere in the bottom corner, and then go bring it over to the drying rack along with your face. Stack those together, bring them to the drying rack. Next thing you need to do is you need to paint your background paper. So come up and get an 11 by 17 sheet of paper. First step is going to be writing your name on it. Please do not forget this step. If you wait until the end, it's much harder to write your name on a piece of paper that is 100% fully painted. So write my name, bottom corner. Now, this is a big step today. So you're going to paint the entire paper. The reason you're going to paint the entire paper is your pop art face will be glued down. Your word will be up above it. And the background is going to be painted with your last accent color. So I think I'm going to give it a shot using a foam brush and see where we get with that. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a foam brush. I have my blue. First step is to paint the entire paper. Now here's the thing, the paint is going to dry fairly quickly. So when you're painting this, just have your paint lines go in one, your brush strokes go in one direction. Don't go all crazy, kind of like scribbling. Make sure your brush strokes are going in one direction. You're going to paint your whole paper. Now you can see I've already created some texture here just with this paintbrush, using the foam brush. So if you choose to, you can use this foam brush to create your texture. So maybe you start to make some waves, and you have waves as your texture. I also have some tools. So I have some spreader tools. They have edges to them. So you must paint fast if you want to do this, otherwise it's going to dry. But you can see how I can take the tool and scrape. and it creates a texture. Now, when we're looking at the examples of the pop art portraits, you can see different ways that people have created texture. This person looks like they used their fingers and scraped along. This person looks like they've done something similar here. They've gone in that direction. This person incorporated a few other colors, which is fine if you want to, and created their own texture. This person created like a round texture pattern. It's totally up to you. The only recommendation I would make is not to make whatever texture you choose, just stick with one type of texture. So either stick with wavy lines, or stick with a circular motion, or a simple line pattern, or maybe just one going across. Because you want the texture to be simple and effective so that it looks like, for the eye to be looking at it, it's just one type of texture. If you start going crazy and doing all sorts of random things, it's going to kind of throw the eye off. So whatever you do, if you do want to do like a checkerboard pattern like this, keep it consistent throughout your entire paper. Again, you can see how fast this really does dry. So when you're painting, you're going to need to really focus on painting quickly and then applying your texture if you want it quickly. After you have finished with your paper, with this paper, making sure your name is on the back, you're going to walk it over to the drying rack and you are done for the day.